One time, there was a famous, wealthy software tycoon. He was a giant. He was a case study of how a person can rise from rags to riches. His deep learning, mental algorithms, his ideation strategies made his empire rise exponentially. So in this way, his software empire was rising, and he was coming up with software products one after another, one after another. In this way, as his empire was expanding, his life was also marching forward. And as it is said, time and tide waits for none. So lo and behold, there was this time for him now to change his own processor systems. So therefore, in his own operating system, in his processor system, there was this system call, operating system kernel level call actually, or you can say a kernel operating system interrupt. This interrupt was from the famous universal website www.yamlok.com, and the customer care representatives of yamlok.com, the headquarters Yamlok, the CEO Yamaraj. So the customer care representatives came to escort him to his new processor systems. So they said, okay, now is the time for you to dump your present processor systems, and we will present you with options of new processor systems what you are entitled to. And in this way, the Yamadutas, the customer care representatives, they escorted him to yamlok.com. So here was the software tycoon, the undisputed, the invincible, the undefeatable, and he was there and having a one-on-one business deal with Yamaraj. And Yamaraj said, you see, according to purely objective statistical big data analytics, your activities are more or less a big mix, and therefore we want to do a simulation. So we want to present you both the varieties of options, and let's see how you react to it, and let's see what you choose. Let's say we'll give you a choice of what you want to choose. Broadly enough, you have two options. You can either choose to be in heaven, or you can choose to be in hell. Now, our software tycoon had never heard of these terminologies. I mean, he had heard of Mac, he had heard of Red Hat, Linux, deep learning, but what is this heaven and hell? He said, I will have to do configuration analysis of both these concepts, and only when I do some formal language modeling and analysis, then I will be able to predict or simulate or make a choice what I want, the concept of a hell or a heaven. Yamaraj said, so be it, it's up to you. So we'll escort you. And now in this way, the Yamadutas were taking him. So they wanted to give him a ride of both the places so that he can do some, he can get a feel, he can do his simulation, configuration analysis and whatever he wanted to do, and then he can make a choice. So as they were going in a chartered airplane, so the universal chartered airplane, as they were going, the Yamadutas showed him from a distance, you see out there that planet, that patch of area, that land, that planet, that's called as hell. And our giant, our software tycoon, he saw that place. That place was looking so charming. There were waterfalls, and there was spring, and there were birds chirping, and there were heavenly damsels. Okay, not to confuse terminologies. There were beautiful damsels who were strolling around here and there. The whole scene was amazing. And when our software giant, he saw that, his eyes became wide open and he was gaping in wonder and astonishment. He said, is this hell? And Yamadutas told him, whatever is there in front of you, and very soon we are going to land there. It's up to you to analyze what's there. No, we are not going to contribute in any way to your analysis. We are only facilitating. And the giant said, okay, fine. My algorithms are very sharp. My deep learning algorithms, multi-layer architecture, actually, it can actually predict from a very distance. With very less data, I can predict the things. So I have understood what is this hell all about. Take me to the next place. And the Yamadutas were shocked. They said, you don't want to go there, you don't want to land there, you don't want to, get a feel, experience out. He said, no. My algorithms can never fail. The Yamadutas said, anyway, we don't understand these terminologies, we'll take you to the next place. So be it. And they redirected the plane towards heaven. And then they were showing from a distance. They said, okay, that planet which you see out there, that's called as heaven. And our software giant was watching, and it was looking like a very scorchy, dry, parched up desert. The sun was burning the whole patch of land. Not a single shadow of vegetation all around. Animals, living entities, dried up, scorched, bruised, burnt up. That was the kind of existence which he was seeing. He got wonderstruck. He got terrorized. And he asked, is that what I am seeing? Is that what it is? What you call as heaven? And the Yamadutas told him, you see, we are only facilitating. Your analysis, we facilitate, you analyze, you choose. Very soon we are going to land there. Now, whatever doubts you have will get answered when you land there. And the software giant said, I never spent so much time in any business meeting. He said, my algorithms can never fail. I have understood everything. And they said, you understood? He said, yes, I have understood everything. I understood what that hell was like, and I have understood what this heaven is like. Now I want to go back and make my choice. And then the Yamadutas were shocked. They said, we don't understand how you understand, but okay, we'll take you back. So they took him back to Yamaraj. And Yamaraj said, okay, so which one do you want to choose? What should we lock? And our software giant, he said, I want to choose, based on my prediction algorithms, my data analytics, I want to choose that place, that planet which is called as hell. And Yamaraj got up from his seat. He said, oh hell, what did he choose? But anyways, choice once made, commitment once done, payment once made from the payment gateway doesn't come back. So the Yamara said, that's what you stick on, that's what it is. All the best. We can only wish you all the best for your future predictions and data analytics. And in this way, he was given a royal escort to the planet Hell. And while he was going, he was seeing that beautiful scenery, the waterfalls, and the birds are chirping, and the spring, and the wind is blowing, and there is a sound, the rustle of the leaves, the chirping of the birds, and beautiful damsels walking around. And then finally their plane landed. And as soon as the plane landed, the whole scene changed. All of a sudden, he saw that there is no waterfalls, there is no spring, there is no rustling of the leaves, there is no greenery all around. It's there are frying pans all around, and people are being fried, and people are being tortured, and people are being beaten up. And that's the kind of the really VIP treatment actually which he had never seen in his life. This is first time, this 3rd degree, 4th degree, 5th degree treatment, VIP treatment which was being given in this place. And now the Sophie giant got startled. He said, what is this? This is cheating. I saw something else, this is something else here. And the Yamadutas told, we told you, you could have landed at that place and seen, but yours data analytics and predictions and so on. But now there is no reverting back. You have to experience it. And this man said, no, I will sue you. I will sue you. International justice, I will sue you. So he was speaking such jargon, such business jargons and all that. The Yamadut was getting a headache, so they took him back to Yamaraj. And he said, cheating. There is a flaw of business ethics and I have been cheated. And Yamaraj couldn't understand. He said, we sent you in a fair game, in a fair deal, we sent you to both the places, you did whole configuration analysis and you made the choice. Now you have got the product and you enjoy or suffer, it's your problem, it's your baby, you handle it. Yamaraj was not knowing the whole case. He said, no, I saw it was so beautiful and then I landed, it's so horrible. It's a horror scene going on there. And then Yamaraj tried to understand. He said, okay, you explain to me what had happened. And then he could understand that this man, he only did analysis from a distance, what he saw from a distance, and then he made a choice, a quick choice, and he came back just to finish off the deal. What he did was he simply did a superficial analysis. And Yamaraj had a hearty laugh. He said, oh, all what you saw from a distance, don't mind, but all what it was a screensaver. All it was a screensaver. The idea of that we copied from your company algorithms and your company products, how you send the packaging. So we also have packaged our places in a very nice way. So what you saw was just a screensaver. Don't mind. So therefore, in life, it is very important to understand what is real substance and what is shadow. What is worth pursuing? What can lead to substantial meaningful gain and what can lead to simply an illusory gain. So what is a screensaver and what is a real flavor is very important to discriminate. What should be the goal and what is a loophole is very important to understand. That and much more will be the topic of discussion today. So Lord Krishna explains in Gita, among the subduers, I am time. Attraction to the temporary, to the transient, is not going to give us a meaningful result. In fact, the scriptures explain that this attraction to the false representation of reality is called as moha. This attraction to the false representation of reality is called as moha. So we are surrounded by this false representation of reality. Things appear glittering, they appear irresistible, glamorous, but they don't have much substantiality in them. Just like, say, for example, if a boy is 22, the girl is 19, the boy is handsome, the girl is beautiful, then both may be on a drive of infatuation or on a dose of infatuation, and they may be thinking it is divine and it is heavenly and there is romance and everything, and there is deep and there is love and so on. It appears to be very attractive. It appears to be something which is highly dreamt of, which is something which is deeply cherished. But now if you just imagine the same boy has become 86, the girl is 83, the boy has become 86, from 2 eyes it has become 4 eyes, the inside eyes have gone inside the sockets, the jaws have come out, the jaws have dropped off, the hairs have gone. From 2-legged creature has become a 3-legged creature. And similarly the girl, the wrinkles all over her face, body is swollen up. To make any movement, each and every movement is clumsy and creaky and so on. Now the question is, where is the attraction? Where is that infatuation? So therefore this beauty is fleeting, because it dries up with time. This beauty is fleeting, it dries up with time. So this whole manifestation, in that sense we can understand, is a cheating manifestation. This is what is called as moha. It's a trap which saps away our life and time and consciousness. It's a trap because it has no substantiality. It has no substantiality. Just like in the pastimes of Sri Ramayan, we see in the pastimes of Sri Ramayan, Mother Sita was attracted to that golden deer. And she wanted the golden deer. And it was Mother Sita's desire to have the golden deer which actually kick-started a cascade of problems, a cascade of reversals and torturing situations which the Lord had to endure, which all the Ayodhya-vasis had to endure, which everyone had to face through. It all started with the attraction for the deer. Now, in this way, the Lord is showing through His own pastimes that how this attraction to the glittering representation of reality. It was a demon in disguise, and that's what Sri Ramayana is showing. That don't get attracted to the razzle and dazzle of this world. It's a demon in disguise. It is going to take off our stability. It is going to take off the sweetness of our life, the meaning in our lives, and so on. That's what happens when one gets infatuated. In a drive of infatuation, say towards money, wealth, this is what happens. Owing to a drive of greed or lust, a person loses the very balance of his life, the sweetness of his life, the sweetness of his relationships dry up. His concepts become completely blurred and topsy-turvy and perverted. It takes away the life in our life and makes our life dry and dreary. So the scriptures explain that the spirit soul is dynamic. The spirit soul is energetic. It is bubbling with enthusiasm and energy and positivity and happiness. But when the spirit soul leaves the spiritual world, comes to this material world, he forgets his true identity and foolishly thinks himself to be the material body which is made up of flesh and bones. He foolishly thinks himself to be this material body which is made up of flesh and bones. So the soul is perfect and complete. The soul is having, so we the soul are having infinite degrees of freedom. And the body is temporary and crunched up. That means the degrees of freedom are very thoroughly choked up. It is only when the soul misidentifies to the body, then the degrees of freedom start getting minimized. So that's the idea. When one forgets his true identity and one is accepting or installing an illusory identity, then one flows with the waves of that illusory identity. This is called as moha, or this is called as, technically speaking, false ego. Ego means identification. It is this false identification which creates a whole problematic scene for the living entity. So how to understand this? So we can understand this from understanding, say, the modern day concepts and innovations in AI, say for example, or in computer vision. Say for example, the concept of, say, virtual reality. So now in a scene of virtual reality, a person is identifying himself with another identity. Person is there in a field. And so just like there are some 3D gaming, 4D gaming which is there. Now if a person is playing a 4D game, so all what he is saying, suppose he is playing a racing game, so all what he sees and understands is that he identifies with that yellow car or red car, that okay, I am this car. And when you understand that I am this car, then the degrees of freedom are very much minimized, because you say I am this car, and then the illusory Matrix is posing a situation that there is a lot of competition, so many cars going up and there, and one may be perspiring, one may be in a state of frenzy, one may be in a state of urgency, one may want to take over, but the person in front is not giving way to speed up. And what are the degrees of freedom now? The degrees of freedom is that you can only go ahead and you can take a left right, okay, given a width of the lane, how much left, how much right, which part of the road you are at. That's all. That's all what you can do. But actually, the person who is playing, so just like we have seen sometimes when children are playing, they may forget eating, they may forget the studies. The studies are anyways forgotten, but they may forget the eating and sleeping and everything. They may not understand that from day night has come, from night day has come. I have seen in when we used to stay in Kharagpur hostels as well. So sometimes our friends would be playing with games, and whole night they would be playing and playing and playing, and they would not realize that no, it's not the morning, it's the afternoon now. The night has passed, morning has passed. The classes are all gone. Now it's the afternoon, lunchtime. So people would not realize actually so much time saps by, so much of consciousness absorbed in it. But then all what one is playing is an illusory game. So now in life, the very simple logic to understand in life. Suppose if one is so intoxicated in gaming, and suppose he is the best game player in the entire hostel also in a particular game, whether it is a car game or war game or whatever. So even if the person is a winner, how does it affect his life in any way? If he is an IIT student, what will affect his life in some way or the other is that, okay, how much he studies and how much CGPA he gets, how much marks he gets. So what is the value of somebody who is the champion of the entire hostel or the entire hall of residence, or even so to say of the entire IIT, say for example, how it is going to affect or help him in any way in his life, how it is going to affect him. Rather, his intoxication and absorption on an illusory ground is taking away his time and energy from the real ground of studies. And therefore, if he is a champion of video gaming, but he is now he is getting a 5-point CGPA with an F grade, flying colors in 4 subjects, and a whole cricket team of 11 subjects to cross and to pass out. Already 5 years have passed. So if that is the scene, that means a person messed up his life simply by being on an illusory plane. That's why it's not worth investing one's time, energy, consciousness, absorption on an illusory ground. This is the message the Shastras are giving. That do not take the body and the concepts of the body so seriously that you get completely lost and obsessed about it. Because body is temporary. So when the forgetful soul becomes attracted to the glittering illusions of the false beauty of the objects of this material world, then starts a whole game of illusion and deception. So material beauty appears to be intoxicating, but it is like a mirage. You are captivated when you don't have it. If you never get it, you die in lamentation and hankering. And if you get it, you die in shock because there is nothing there in your hands. Why? Because material beauty is simply a poor imitation of the spiritual beauty. So that's why material beauty is just like a shadow. It's just like a virtual avatar. That's all. It looks attractive, but there is no substance in it. So in one of his speeches, Bill Britt, the famous US multi-billionaire, he made a very interesting and meaningful, he shared a very interesting and meaningful realization or insight from the core of his heart. He said US is a mighty country, but where is our culture going to? Drugs, violence, divorces, sex. That's not the American dream. He said, look at India. I admire their culture. They have got much better families and values than we do. They have got much better parents than we do. The families are much more united than ours. I respect their values. So here Bill Britt is pointing out to a very instructive insight, and that the realization which is sharing is very instructive for us, because this gives us a pointer and cue to what is substantial. What is substantial? So Bill Britt is explaining that what is it of meaning actually. So simply a razzle dazzle, a glare, a dazzling effulgence is not what is substantial and meaningful. It may look attractive, it may look irresistible, but that's not substance. Substance lies in principles and values. So it's not how much facilities one has, but it is how deep a character one has is what matters the most. It's not how much wealth one has, but it's how much depth of qualities in heart what one has is what matters the most. So what matters is values and principles, and that's what Bill Britt is adoring in Indian culture. Family, what binds the family together? There is this nice saying which says that a family which prays together stays together. In one survey which was done in the United States, they were trying to figure out, they were researching and interrogating families, the husband-wife pair, which lasted successfully at least or at most for 3 years. So the family, the marriage lasted for 3 years at least. Such couples they were trying to interrogate, and their question was that please list down the major factor which bound you together. Which is the secret of your success. Now that you successfully staying together in your married life without breakup or without explosion or so on. So what is that one point factor? And amazingly, the overwhelming answer which came was that one point factor was that one word, that's religion, that's spirituality. So when there is values and principles, then one is not just infatuated by the external superficialities. Now he's talking about the families being Indian families being much more united, and he's talking about I respect their values. Now we see like we see many educated Indian mothers, they choose they choose or they opt out to not to be a housewife to give a very good quality training to their children. So they might have been professionally successful, but then they choose this as a very important service for the family, for the humanity and civilization. And sure enough that and sure enough actually the children, when they have got such powerful sanskaras, then they become such powerful torchlights of character and role models and beacon lights actually. And that's what makes the whole concept of relationships uh, so sweet. It's the sacrifice, the spirit of sacrifice, which makes this whole concept of relationship so sweet. And it is the same spirit which can make a nation united and sweet as well. And the same thing can be applied to humanity. So it's values and cultures which is based on, so values and principles. So now what is values and principles? Principles and values is the germination of the seed of adherence to religion or spirituality, the laws of God. That's what it is. When that loyalty, or when that abiding by the spirit of abiding, that faith in God germinates and manifests, it manifests as values and cultures. I mean, it manifests as values and principles. And that's what Bilbert is adoring. And then he's saying, unfortunately many youngsters there are being influenced by our media. They are being influenced by the wrong culture. And therefore he says, if I were the Prime Minister of India for 15 minutes, I will shoot all the Western channels out of that beautiful country. So it is explained, so therefore we can see that, this faith in God, or the eagerness or the readiness to follow or imbibe the instructions and directions given by God, that's like the seed. And when this seed germinates, one's heart and in totality one's whole personality becomes like a beautiful garden. It becomes like a beautiful garden, beautiful orchard which is loaded with so many varieties of fruits and flowers and vegetation, which anyone and everyone can relish. That's what happens actually. But when the same person, when the same heart is, so when instead of that seed of faith in God, there are these transient effects. When the heart is simply a ground for these kind of transient effects, just like firecrackers, then it creates a good amount of sound, it creates a good amount of turbulence and entropy, but then we see everything is dry and just like a desert. In the integral of time, everything is dry and like a desert because there is nothing which has grown out. There were simply some temporary effects. It was there, it was gone. In the integral, we don't find anything. We don't find anything. So many times people may say that, what are you saying? You are saying that one should follow spirituality, one should follow scriptures. Scriptures are giving us rules and regulations that makes us bound. What about freedom? We should have freedom of thought. We should have freedom of choice. We should have freedom of action. Everything, one should be free, free to do anything. Why tame ourselves? Why torture ourselves? Why bound ourselves with some laws and rules and regulations and patterns and patternize our thinking and so on? So one may say, yes, if I don't accept anything, I do what I like, I feel, I think what I like, and then one may say, yes, I am free. But let's try to analyze what is the quality and what is the kind of freedom, what is being talked about. The scriptures give a very beautiful analogy, powerful, punching, but yet very instructive analogy to explain this. The Vedic texts are talking about, they say that when one, no doubt, spirituality offers a set of rules, regulations, principles which one should abide by, follow, prohibitions which one should not follow, and so on. There are do's, there are don'ts, there is yama, niyama, and so on. No doubt about that. Whereas, when one doesn't follow any scriptural protocol, then so-called one may be free, but then the chances explain that this kind of freedom without God is like the quality of that freedom is like the freedom of a street dog. It's just like the so what kind of freedom is that? It's just like the freedom of a street dog. A street dog is free to do anything. He's free to roam around. He's free to pounce anywhere, everywhere. But that's not the full side of the story. We may say, okay, the street dog can roam around anywhere. He's free to do anything. He's free to bark at anyone. He doesn't have to follow any instructions. But that's only half side of the story. The other half is that what happens to the street dog. Okay, he's free to move around anywhere else, but everyone else is also free to inflict any amount of suffering on the street dog. So many times we see, street dog, some car runs over them, or so they are limping, their one leg is gone, or sometimes one can see half of the intestines have come out, and and sometimes so that's the case for a street dog. You're shivering in the cold, there's nothing to eat many times, you loiter around for basic fooding. What kind of freedom is that? What kind of freedom is that? Therefore the Shastras explain that when one abides by the instructions of God, then one becomes a devotee, is like a pet dog. So one may say, okay, I don't want I don't want a dog strap around my neck, I want freedom. But that dog strap is a sign of protection, it's a sign of love. And what kind of treatment a pet dog gets? The pet dog many times sleeps on the same bed as the master. He travels in the same car as the master. Every morning the master may want, many times in the morning the master may not want to go out for a walk or like that, but the dog wants to go out and the master has to go. He has to follow the instructions of the dog. That's what happens. The pet dog. And I have seen in the West there are supermarkets for dogs, where you can get dog biscuits and dog cosmetics and dog soaps. Dog soaps, cat soaps, like that. There are airlines only for dogs. There is hairdressing for dogs. And everything. There's dog food, and it's a whole universe in itself, actually. So that's what happens to a pet dog. So yes, that dog strap is the very rules and regulations the scriptures are talking about. So in this way, we can understand that the rules and regulations which scriptures are talking about are meant to channelize us and elevate us. The example is given just like a kite. Now if you are there on a 10th story, and if you have a kite and you just leave the kite, okay, fly, you have full freedom, you can fly. The kite will not fly, it will go down the building, is it not? But if that kite is tied to a thread, good powerful thread, is it not? No. And then you make the kite fly off, but then you control it with the thread. Because of the thread, the kite gets channelized. The kite gets that required thrust to rise, and once it rises, it floats in the sky. Everyone can see that kite is flying so nice and so high. That's what happens when one follows the principles of scriptures. So material pleasures are not going to last for long, and therefore it's not worth just living our lives or just burning our lives in a mad chase behind these material and flickering pleasures. Yes. Like say for example, people have a mad craze for wealth. People have a mad craze for wealth. So I have seen working in software and MNC setup, sometimes people are so obsessed about this drive of wealth that they even forget what is supposed to be done with that wealth. So when I was working in MNC companies, then I had seen most of, I was a new recruit, and I had seen that most of the managers, they had not taken a single day holiday in the past 5 years. You are entitled to 1 month holiday leave, and if you don't take it, is not going to be reimbursed into, it is not going to be converted into cash, so you lose it, And the company gives, 1 month they give. But these people are so obsessed that they have not even taken a leave past 5 years. They're so obsessed about getting money, getting promotion, getting the business done, getting crunching the figures, and all what you can do is that you can log in on your online banking and you can see your numbers are rising. But these people don't, these people even forget that they are supposed to. Now what are they supposed to do? I mean, if you spend money, you will enjoy with that. Just by seeing money in the bank account, there's not much enjoyment. There's maybe some sensation of satisfaction, but then actually the purpose of money may be to have some reciprocation of the family members, to have some facilities to enjoy in some way or the other. People even forget to do that. So that's about wealth. Like one time, one of our spiritual teachers, he made such a beautiful point. He said that many times in youth, people work so hard. They work 16 hours, 18 hours. Actually, they spoil and sacrifice their health to get some wealth, and then whole life, they keep spending back that wealth to regain back their health. That's what happens. The modern day fast-paced life, with arthritis, spondylosis, and obesity and hypertension, stress, and because of that, problems on the in the digestive region and the digestive glands and so on and so forth. For life, people keep spending back their wealth, get back the health. So what did you do? So there's not much worth making these material things as a goal of life. Sometimes people are now, especially I see sometimes college undergraduate, first year, second years, third years, so on. They're very much infatuated by the idea of romance, sex. The simple principle to understand is that if sex were to only give happiness, then prostitutes would have been the happiest people in the world. It's as simple as that. So it's not worth. Similarly, it's not worth pursuing these fleeting goals to make it the whole and soul, the be all and end all of our lives. Our lives need to have much more meaning, much more substance. It should be much more lasting, not just spikes. A spike can have a very huge value, but the problem with the spike is that it has no integral. Its integral value is 0. What life requires, what relationships require, is a constancy. You may not have an infinite value, but you have a constant finite value. Over the integral, it becomes infinite. And that's why what we need is character, what we need is principles, what we need is direction. The date direction we are getting from the Vedic Shastras. So we need to understand that we are not material beings. We are spiritual beings. on a material journey. So originally the soul belongs to the spiritual world, where every word is a song, where every walk is a dance. The water is just like nectar. All living beings are pure, but there is no old age, there is no disease, there is no death. That is our real eternal home. That's a place where we can get unlimited, ultimate, unending happiness. And therefore the goal of our life should be to return back home, to awaken our spiritual nature. To awaken our spiritual nature. Back home, back to Godhead, the spiritual world. So in the material world, everything is appearing, but it is not there. So you can say the nature of happiness of this world is that the happiness in this world is in sight. You can see it, it's there in sight, it's there in front of you. You can see it, but it is out of experience. It's in sight, but out of experience. Everything is like that. When you don't have something, then you have a charm for it. When you have it, the charm goes off. So that means what? Happiness in sight, but out of experience. This goes to show that the happiness in this world is not real, it's a reflection. And that's why it is called as a shadow. It's a shadow. And if you want try to catch shadows, it's very difficult. It's impossible. You'll be thoroughly frustrated actually. But the shadow points out that there is a real substance. That substance we should search. And that's why the Shastras are talking about that we should awaken our spiritual identity. Because on that plane we can find the real substance. And on the material plane what we find is simply shadows. Na tadbhasyate suryo, na shashanko, na pavakaha, yadgatva na nivartante, tadhama paramam mama. That supreme abode of mind is not illumined by the sun or the moon, not the fire or the electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So every living being has the tendency, has the inherent nature to render service to someone or the other. Some people serve society, their family, or their own pet, dog, cat, so on. Some people serve children. So there is this tendency of service which is inherent in all of us. Similarly, there is this inherent tendency to love someone. To love someone. So the tendency to love and serve is not to be shunned, is not to be rejected, because that is the inherent nature of all of us. That's the inherent nature of the soul. But what is important to understand is that this tendency to love and serve should be reposed on a right place. Should be reposed in the right person. Or should be channelized through the right person. That's the idea. So we see that in this world, relationships and love is temporary. And therefore service and love which is rendered only if it has effect for a short period of time. So the question comes, the important question comes is that where should our loving and serving propensity, where should it be reposed? And the answer is it should be reposed. It should be reposed on the, in the Supreme Lord. So now the point is like this, the logic goes here, so why should it be reposed in God? Is the logical question which can come. The point is this, that actually we have a tendency to love and serve. And now the tendency to love and serve, the corollary of this tendency is that, so we have a tendency to love and our intrinsic need is to be loved. To love and to be loved. That reciprocation is the immediate corollary. So now now comes the point that there is this intrinsic need of everyone to accept love, to be loved as well. So there is this need, and we being spiritual beings, actually, if you try to understand, if you want to understand pictorially, we can say that our need is for oceanic love and happiness. Whereas the reciprocation, the loving reciprocation which exists in this material world is very limited. Now, like we may love and serve someone, we may expect some reciprocation. I mean, there is a need for some reciprocation, but the person doesn't have an ocean to offer. The other person may only, somebody has a cup to offer, somebody has a glass to offer, somebody may have a bottle to offer, somebody can offer a syntax tank at max. No. But it's only God who can offer back an ocean. So our capacity for, or our need, or you can say our diet for love is huge, which only God can give actually. In that way, to say that we are Dara Singh, like that, half chapati, one chapati will not satisfy us. We need hundreds of chapatis, only God can offer that to us. Like that. So therefore, we should repose our loving and serving propensity not to God. And that's what, many times it is said, okay, that the best business deal is what? You invest the least and you get back the maximum. Nobody can offer this kind of a business deal, only God can offer us this back. So we give God little, He will multiply it by 1,000,000 times and give it back to us. Because His heart is 1,000,000 times broad than ours. So we give Him a little, He will reciprocate with an ocean. That's why our loving and service propensity should be offered to God. So we see in this material world, everything is incomplete in some way or the other. There is nothing perfect, there is nothing complete. Only God is that one absolute personality who is perfect and complete. Everything about God is perfect and complete. God's name, God's form, God's qualities, God's pastimes, everything is absolute and complete. That means we interface anything and everything, we can be fully satisfied. We can be fully satisfied. Simply by chanting the names of God, people are able to give up negative habits, demoniac tendencies. People are able to fill up the void and the emptiness of their hearts. They are able to ignite the divine qualities of selflessness, humility, tolerance, compassion. So simply by chanting the names of God. So when it comes to God, when it comes to Krishna, everything is perfect and complete. But in this world, we don't find this, all dimensions perfect and complete. Some people may have a very good name. Like somebody may be Lakshmipati and he may be working as a peon in an office. So the name may not describe the person. There is discrepancy. The name, the form, the attributes, there may be discrepancy. So somebody's name may be Sushil, but his qualities may be demoniac. So there is discrepancy in this world. Nothing is absolute and perfect. Somebody can sing very nice, his voice is so attractive, but he may not look very attractive. Somebody may look attractive, but his heart may not be very attractive, and so on actually. But it is only when we interface God, then God can satisfy and fulfill all the dimensions which we have. And therefore God and everything about God is absolute. And that's why if we connect to God properly, tightly, strongly, nicely, then we can connect to every living entity in this world in a very nice way, because God is absolute. And therefore if we catch that one point absolute, then you can connect to everyone else in a very nice way. That's why it is explained that love for God manifests as compassion for all living entities. So that's why it is best deal, you know, to offer our love and service to God, because if you do that, then our intrinsic need, existential need gets satisfied, and at the same time we are offering the best service to everyone, because God is that one point lane, you know, to which everyone is connected. So if we offer our love, or if we if we offer our love on this channel, on the channel of God, on the roadway of God, then that love exhibits or manifests itself as compassion, as a beautiful service to humanity at large as well. Yes, so just like the nature of sugar is to be sweet and salt is to be salty, ice is solid, similarly the nature of the soul is to serve God with unconditional love. It's our nature, it's our natural constitutional position. And therefore, sometimes, you know, people sit 5 minutes in kirtans, they feel so refreshed, so charged up, you know, like that, because that's where that's what is the nature of the soul. This is why the Supreme Lord is described as the ocean of all rasas. Akhila Rasamrit Sindhu is the ocean of all rasas. So he can satisfy us completely and perfectly. As a case study, we saw in the battle of Kurukshetra, when the battle was just about to begin, Arjuna was under stress, because he was having, and the whole reason of stress was because he was having his own ideas of how to become happy. So he made his own story, he wrote his own thesis, he published his own papers, he was trying out his own algorithms, much like our software tycoon, he was trying out his own algorithms. And so the software tycoon landed up in a mess, in a crunched up situation. But Arjuna was a little more intelligent. Arjuna actually confessed his whole situation and discussed, before acting out his own algorithms, he at least presented it to Lord Shri Krishna. And when he presented it to Lord Krishna, that became the turning point of his life. So he was under stress because he was having his own ideas of becoming happy. But then Arjuna was confessing in front of the Lord that, "Oh Lord, I am speaking to you, I have spoken to you so many logic, I have quoted from Dharma Shastra, Artha Shastra, Niti Shastra and so on, but factually speaking, I am not satisfied. Factually speaking, the limbs of my body are quivering. My mouth is drying up, my whole body is trembling, my hairs are standing on end, my bow gandiva is slipping from my hand, I am unable to stand any longer, my mind is reeling, I am forgetting myself." But the guarantee of the Lord is that the Lord surely protects those who cry out for His help. And therefore it is said that prayers go up and blessings and mercy comes down. And because Arjuna took shelter of God, Arjuna became victorious in the battle, in life, for eternity. Arjuna became a real hero. So Arjuna eternalized his victory. Till today we are eulogizing Arjuna for being such a hero. And what is the heroism what he did? His real heroism was that he surrendered to God. That was his real heroism. And therefore, learned, intelligent people, they say that real greatness does not lie in making your biceps, triceps, in making pegs, and real heroism does not lie in anything chivalrous. Real heroism or real greatness lies in taking shelter of the great. In taking shelter of the great. That's where real greatness lies, actually. That's the secret of real heroism. In that way, one can eternalize his caliber. His caliber. So many people may become influencers for some time, and then the fashion goes, the season goes, the person also, the name and fame also goes. But actually, if that caliber is offered to God, it is used to glorify God, then it is used to take shelter of God, then actually that same person with all his skills and all, the person may go, but then what he has offered, I mean, he eternalizes his caliber and contribution actually, which is what happened in the case of Arjuna. Because he took shelter of the god, he became victorious for eternity. So accepting and following the instruction will bring the greatest auspiciousness for all. Yes. Therefore, surrender means following, abiding by the instructions of the Lord. By following, we can see the testimony how the instructions of the Lord are so true and powerful. We can test it for ourselves simply by following. So therefore, by following, one can get free from all sufferings and ultimately attain the spiritual world. That's why Bhagavad Gita says, Sanjaya makes this point, he says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurdaraha, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power and morality. That is my opinion. So anyone who follows in the footsteps of Arjuna by living a life of character, competence and devotion to Sri Krishna will also be successful, not just in this life but for eternity. Yes. So if we forget to make God as the goal of our lives, then there are so many infinite centers which become the focus of our lives. Many fleeting centers become the focus of our lives. Temporary, false relationships with this world. The family center, spouse center, money center, work center, possession centeredness, pleasure centeredness. So all these flickering centeredness simply saps away the energy of our lives. So it may be a good big spike, but over the integral it's nothing. So yes, human life is like a crossroad. If we choose to follow the instructions of the Lord in the scriptures and the great teachers, spiritual teachers and the acharyas, then we can awaken a whole new dimension of loving relationship with the Lord, which is eternal. But if you make a choice to eat, drink and be merry, so then we are going to be sorry in the integral. The choice is ours. So that's why it is said that okay, so we have a combination of both. There are some sparks of spirit, so there is some sparks of spirits which are awakened in our existence, and there is a huge matter which is now covering us. There is matter, there is spirit. Now it's up to us. What we fan is what grows. It depends on us what we fan. So if you lead a life following the scriptures, God-centered life, then we are fanning the spiritual element. And that's what gets awakened. That's what we are feeding. That's what will grow. But if we lead a life, an irresponsible, reckless, callous life of sense gratification, then what we are feeding is the temporality, is entanglement, is illusion. And that's what from illusion to delusion, is it not? An interesting question may come, why does the soul leave the spiritual world and come to this material world? So spiritual world is all that amazing, is all that perfect and complete. There is oceanic happiness which is available. We can realize the fulfillment of all our desires and the full meaning of our existence, the perfection of our existence. That why at all somebody chose to come there to this world. This is an interesting question which the Vedic scriptures and the acharyas have explained in a very beautiful and instructive way. So it is said, just like one time there is a small girl, and generally small children and a small little girl sometimes very fond of cooking, and then she is seeing that mother is cooking every day and she is watching, and one day she goes to the kitchen and she says, mother, today you go and watch TV or you go and take rest, today I am going to cook and I will cook so many preparations. And then she starts listing out that I will cook halwa and I will cook paneer and I will cook biryani and dal. And the mother is very excited about it. The mother says, oh wonderful, so nice, wonderful, we will have a feast. And the mother says, okay, I heard you, I clapped hands, very nice. And the mother caresses him, the mother gives her a kiss, and he says, okay, now you go and play. But the girl was really determined because she had done full planning that today she was going to cook. So she started insisting, no, I want to cook, I want to cook. And the mother realized the girl is a little serious today. She is not going to play with the dolls today. She is bent upon cooking. How can you let a small girl cook? That's a paradoxical situation. So what the mother does is that because the child was crying, and the child was insisting in her own innocence, the mother says, all right, I'll give you a place, I'll give you the full apparatus, go ahead and enjoy. So the mother gives her a toy kitchen. The toy kitchen, as you can see, has everything in it. It has all the utensils and little grains and little fruits and vegetables, and everything is there. And this girl is so happy, and she's cooking. She's making chapati, and she's making rice, and she's making halwa, and she's making so many types of juices, and she's making her favorite dishes and mother's favorite dishes and brother's favorite dishes and so on and so forth. And this is going on. The girl is so much absorbed, and hours pass by, and after 3-4 hours, the girl realizes that the feast is very wonderfully being prepared, but the girl in her kitchen, and all the vessels are filled with so many feast items, but the girl is realizing that there are butterflies which are flying in her own stomach or flying out of her own stomach. And the girl realizes that she is feeling really hungry, and when she is doing that, then when she realizes that, then this small little girl actually, she understands that okay, she has cooked a big feast, but then there are butterflies in her stomach. So she realizes that she is herself so hungry and so much time has passed by. So therefore she looks here and there, and then she turns back to the kitchen. She turns back, she is peeping inside the kitchen. What is mother doing in that big kitchen? And the mother looks at her in the corner of her eye, and the mother says, so is your feast ready? Shall we all take lunch and we'll enjoy today? And the girl looks down and scratches her head, and then immediately she runs. She runs towards the mother and embraces the legs of the mother and hides her head in the sari of the mother, like that. And then the mother picks her up, and then the mother says, we have made a good feast, child. Today we are going to have a good feast actually. And the mother says, come, we'll have lunch. And the mother takes up her lunch. So it's the same thing. So from a technical perspective, that this desire of the girl to cook herself, technically from a tattva point of view, this is that very desire of the living entity to be independent, to it shoots out from a mix of innocence and ignorance and envy, that yes, that I want to see it for myself, I want to do it for myself actually. And then God says, don't worry child, we are going to have a good feast. And then one says, no, I want to drive it. And then all what the Lord does is that gives us a toy kitchen. This material world is like a toy kitchen actually. Where there are vessels for everything, there are representations of everything. Is it not? And it appears that now it's a whole busy life, it's a whole technological, everything is working out, that the hunger of the heart is not getting satisfied. That means what is happening is not food. What is happening is a toy, because a toy diet cannot satisfy hunger. That's what it means. So, lot of things are happening, but then nothing which is satisfying the heart. That means a toy kitchen actually. So, now what one is supposed to do when one realizes that he is hungry, he is empty, he is not satisfied, there is something lacking in one's heart. We have to learn from this small little innocent girl. Because there is innocence in this heart of the girl, therefore this girl turns back to the mother. And when she is peeping inside, and the mother is asking, what happened? And then this girl goes and embraces the mother and takes shelter of the mother by hiding in her sari or by submerging her in her sari. So in the same way, what we are supposed to do is that we are supposed to turn back to God and take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet and submerge ourselves in the instructions given by God. And in this way the Lord will pick us up. In this way the Lord will pick us up. So scriptures also explain that this material world in this way is like a jail. So in a jail all facilities are taken care of, a person is provided food, medication, everything, but everything is under punishment. That means everything is, punishment means that no, everything is very simple and one has to work very hard and things are very basic. So in the material world all our needs are taken care of, but then there are these 4 real problems, there are 3-4 miseries which are existing. So one has to work extra hard and one has to pay a price, a huge price, and one gets small returns. That's what happens in a prison. That's what is happening in our life actually. So we have to understand that all this is there. The purpose of the prison is not to torture. The purpose of the prison is to reform. Why don't we reform our independent enjoying mentality and become subservient to God? Like suppose a person is there in prison, but he behaves in a very good way. He reforms his character. Everybody is giving a very good testimony. And maybe the person who is having life imprisonment, after 15 years only he may be released. Why? Because he has reformed. The purpose is reformation. And that if we understand, then this material shackles will break open. The Lord will break open this material shackles for us. The material nature as a jailer will no more shackle us. So yes, therefore we understand that we are like this fish out of water. We touched upon it in this point in the last class as well. That just like water is existential identity for the fish, without water any amount of facilities will be suffocating for the fish. So that water is loving reciprocation with God. When we reciprocate in love with God, that's water for us. Without it, we will always be suffocating. We will always be suffocating. So therefore it is said that the soul can be happy by rendering service to the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world. So not in the material world where there is simply a chase after mirage. Yes. So one time all the parts of the body were having a big meeting, and the question was, they were having serious complaints, because the eyes were saying, see, I look at food, I give the full directions where the food is, I give the coordinates, but I don't get the food. It goes to the stomach. And the hands say, no, I catch the food, the legs say, I go to the food, the teeth say, I chew the food. We are doing such substantial service. So who is enjoying the food? The stomach. So this fellow stomach very culprit, cheating us, exploitative. We go on strike. Our rights are not being unserved, we go on strike. So all parts of the body went on strike. So the eyes were not seeing, the hands were not getting, the legs were not taking to that food, the teeth were not chewing. Because they thought that why should only the stomach enjoy? The food goes to the stomach, everybody works so hard, food goes to the stomach is enjoying. This is cheating. So they went on a strike. But then after a few days, what happened is that all of these organs, they started feeling very weak. They were on the point of extinction. They started feeling very weak. Why? Because they were not getting nourishment. Then they realized that actually when they are giving food to the stomach, then all of them are getting nourishment by default actually. So in that same way we understand that God is like that root. When we water the root, then all parts of the tree get nourished. So when people now it may appear, the person who doesn't know the science, it may appear that actually if you put water on the leaves, the dirt in the leaves goes away, and some droplets remain, sun shines on that, looks very nice. But that's not going to cause nourishment for the tree. It may look nice, but the tree will dry up. You have to feed water to the root. You have to feed water to the root. And a person doesn't know the science, he may say that, okay, what are you doing? The tree is here, you are putting water here. Where are you putting water? On the ground? There is nothing in the ground. Similarly, sometimes people say that enjoyment is here. You can enjoy, the enjoyment is in internet, enjoyment is in roaming around, flirting around, and so on and so forth. And enjoyment is here. You are putting water here somewhere, in a concept which is in a concept called as God, spirituality, which is like very philosophical, hypothetical. Who knows where it goes? That means the person doesn't know the science. The part and parcel soul therefore can become happy only by rendering service to the Lord, who is the Supreme. Okay, so this is a divine and demoniac. Okay, the qualities of the two classes, divine and demoniac. Okay, let's see the answers. Yeah. So those who obey God's laws, they are called as divine. Just like Yudhishthira Maharaj, the saintly devotees of the Lord. So their goal is eternal life of bliss and knowledge. But those who are demoniac, they don't follow. They rebel against the Lord. They're selfish, like Duryodhana or modern day atheistic culture. So it is explained that we are like the lost son of a millionaire father. If we can trace out and go back to our father, then there is a huge $1 million property waiting for us. And not just property, that $1 million property and an oceanic love and care waiting for us. We have to revive that eternal relationship with God our Father. Our material body is like a reflection, just like the reflection of a mango tree. So if somebody thinks that in the water there is nice mango and he jumps in the water and tries to catch mango, although it appears to be in water, if he is very enthusiastic, he will break his head. If he is not very enthusiastic, he will not get anything. So why? Because he is diving into the shadow, the perverted reflection. All he has to do is to look up. If he looks up, he can see the tree and he can see that there is a real mango hanging up actually. In the same way, simply by diving on the material plane and simply by living a hedonistic life based on just do it and drive your way and somehow or the other make the way and all that, that is not going to lead us to happiness. One has to raise his consciousness and look up actually. Look towards the Supreme Lord. Then one can see the real mango which can offer us a real taste and nourishment. Yes. So one should not go after fake marble or fake currency, get the real thing. Yeah. Get the real mango. Similarly, get the real beauty. The spiritual beauty. Get the real beauty, the spiritual beauty. Yeah. So real beauty lies in transformation of heart, lies in qualities and character. That's what makes devotion, is what makes a person really beautiful actually. Yeah. And when it comes to the body, the harsh reality of the body is the body is just the destination of the cherished body is either ashes or it is either reduced to ashes or dust or powder, or it is eaten by worms or birds or something. So the harsh reality of the body. But if we do something meaningful with the body, then that activity which is done can make our eternal resume for entrance into the spiritual world. That's what we can understand. So we see that what glitters in this world are also opulences, but these opulences are being reflected in minute ways, in some minute temporary ways actually. It's little reflection glimpse, just like a firefly, a jugnu, may show some light here sometimes, some light there, but that light, although it may be attractive, that's fine, we like it, we may like it in the dark, seeing a jugnu, a firefly lighting, but that light is of practically no use. You cannot read anything with that light, you cannot do anything much with that light, so but if you get sunlight, you can do everything. Sunlight imparts health also, and you can see also and everything. So God is like the sun actually, and therefore it is explained that all that which appears attracted to us all around rests in its fullness in the Supreme Lord, and therefore the word Bhagavan means a person who is full. Bhagavan, Van means one who is full of all opulences, all that is attractive, all opulences. So Parashar Muni lists out 6 opulences actually, which can make anything and anyone attractive, even if it reflected in minute quantity. But in God, all these opulences rest in full. Just like knowledge, God is full of knowledge. You see, a 45 minutes extempore by the Lord in one of the most stressful situations of a world war at Kurukshetra. It was just a 45 minutes on the spur of the moment extempore which the Lord just gave, and that became such an ocean of such insightful jewels in directions for life, that becomes a masterpiece which is unparalleled in terms of the depth of insights, learning it gives, the philosophical learning, the psychological learning, in terms of the subtle, controlling the subtle drives in the dimensions of mind, in terms of the goal of life, everything in all respects, unparalleled masterpiece, Bhagavad Gita. Wealth. 5,000 years before, when the Lord was there, and the Lord manifested Himself on the planet. The Lord manifests time to time in this world to offer a trailer. Just like any movie which comes, it offers a trailer. Every every country offers a trailer of tourism. And if you come to our country, your life can become heavenly in this way. Watch it, so that people can get inspired. Similarly, the whole idea is copied from the Lord. The Lord comes in this world time to time to give a glimpse of a trailer of His eternal wonderful pastimes. That this is what is me enjoying in the spiritual world. You can come and join. What are you waiting for? Don't cry. Come to me. So the Lord, when He was in Dwaraka, the Lord had 16,108 palaces. Each one of them were effulgent with divine and heavenly artifacts. That is the Supreme Lord. The Lord is all famous. He is Jagannath. He is all famous. He is so famous that even atheists are trying all their lives to come up with some logic to minimize Him. And if the Lord is not important, why are they bothered about His existence at all? But so many people make it the goal of their lives, somehow or the other come up with some logic which can convince some people not to believe in God. He is so famous. Krishna is so beautiful. Krishna is most beautiful. It is explained that Krishna is most beautiful. In fact, it is explained that what is Lord's beauty? If you want to have a pictorial comparison, what is Lord's beauty? So we can have a pictorial comparison actually. The Acharyas explain the pictorial comparison. The Acharyas explain that actually, or the scripture, and the scriptures also, the scriptures and the Acharyas talk about this. If you take the most beautiful lady on this planet Earth, and if you make her stand in front of the most ugly lady of the heavenly planet, the Swargaloka, our most beautiful lady will look like a cockroach. In terms of not the form but the beauty, the overall beauty, she will look like a cockroach, as ugly as a cockroach in front of the most ugly heavenly damsel. And it is explained that if you take the most beautiful heavenly damsel on the Swargaloka and make her stand, besides Mother Lakshmi, then she will look like the most beautiful heavenly damsel, will look like a 90-year-old woman. And her beauty will look like a 90-year-old woman in front of the beauty of Mother Lakshmi. And the beauty of Mother Lakshmi, if we compare it with the beauty of Srimati Radharani, the beauty of Mother Lakshmi is like that of a firefly in terms of the sun, in front of the sun. That's the beauty of Srimati Radharani. And Acharyas and Shastras explain that Radha Krishna Ekatanu, Radha and Krishna are one, they are not two, they are the same person who is manifested in two forms. That is the beauty of Radharani, that is the beauty of Krishna. In that way we can understand Krishna is so beautiful. Just a pictorial analogy to help us visualize how beautiful is Krishna. All beauty resides in the Supreme Lord. All strength. The Lord lifted Govardhan. At the age, at such a child, now the Lord was 7 years old. And with the small finger of his left hand, the Lord lifted Govardhan. Effortlessly, Acharyas explain, just like a small child lifts a mushroom, the Lord lifted Govardhan. So the Lord lifted Govardhan, to do. So Govardhan is a huge mountain. Renunciation. The Supreme Lord of the Lords, for the sake of his devotee, is ready to become his driver. He is ready to take such a humble menial position for the sake of his loving devotee, Arjuna. That is Lord's renunciation. We can get the Akhil Rasamrit Sindhu, the ocean of love. So that's what the Lord is inviting us to participate in his eternal loving pastimes. Like one time in Sri Vrindavan, Lord Krishna was supposed to start his Gocharan Leela. That means he was supposed to start taking the cows for grazing on the Govardhan. So Lord Krishna was very meticulous. He asked a question to Mother Yashoda, do all the cows have shoes? Mother Yashoda said, no, the cows don't wear shoes. And Krishna said, oh, if the cows don't wear shoes, I will also not wear shoes. And the cows heard that. The cow felt so much aggrieved that how Krishna's lotus feet will touch the ground, some pebbles, some rock may touch his feet. And the cows became very much disturbed because of that. That Krishna should not be harmed. And what he has decided, he is going to do it, make it happen. So that night, all the cows in Nanda Bhavan, they all loosened themselves and they walked. And they went all over Vrindavan, all over that area, all over from Vrindavan to Govardhan, all over the area, and they crushed every stone, every pebble, every particle of rock into such a fine powder, so that when Krishna steps on that feet, it's so soft for him. So this is cow's love for Krishna, and therefore Krishna reciprocates with cow's love. When Krishna is tending the cows, then he is playing his flute. So now it's a time for cows to come back. So therefore the Lord calls out the name of every cow through his flute. And when the cow hears her name, she comes running. So in this way all the cows of the Lord come back, but one cow doesn't come because she wanted to see what is the reaction of Krishna. So when Krishna realized that one cow didn't came back. By the way, Nanda Maharaj had 9 lakh cows. So one cow didn't came back, and Krishna personally went to search for that cow. And she was hiding in a bush, and the Lord embraced her and cajoled her, and in that way brought her along with him. This is Krishna's love. And one time Gopas, and they are searching and they are asking the question, where is Krishna? And one Gopa said, there he is on the top of the mountain. And all of them started running towards Krishna. And one Gopa was telling, I will reach Krishna first. And hearing him, the other Gopa was getting encouraged. And the other Gopa was thinking, he started running fast, and he said, no, I will reach Krishna first. And in this way, everybody started running to the best of their capacity. And everybody was saying, I will reach Krishna first. But in the heart of the heart, everybody was feeling that I am running to my best, and I am encouraging all others to run better than me and reach Krishna earlier than me. So I am just encouraging them, boosting them up, so that they can reach Krishna first. But externally they were saying, I will reach Krishna first. This was spiritual consciousness. This is how the Brajavasis, the Gopas, they used to love Krishna. And then Krishna knew their spirit, And therefore, when it was about to reach the summit of the hill, and all the Gopas were running, everybody reached Krishna first, because Krishna expanded into as many forms as the Gopas, and they could touch him and they could reach Krishna first. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are the eternal pastimes of the Lord, and the Lord is inviting us to participate in these internal pastimes. What are we waiting for? We should dive in this ocean of love by simply accepting the instructions which the Lord is giving us. So I think it's late for today. We'll stop here. If you have any questions, you can ask personally to us. You can reach out to us personally, and we'll stop here today. In our next session, next Saturday, we are going to discuss about many interesting insights about religion. If God is one, why are there so many religions? What are the various levels of approaching God? How do we understand these levels? What does it mean to be broad-minded? No? If all religions are leading to God, why are there wars or dissensions in the name of religions? Why even within Vedas there is a confusing multitude of pathways which is shown? So what to make out of what and when to take the move, which one to choose, all that demystified in our next session. Be there with us. Thank you.